Africa, the coup in Niger just had a former rebel leader and politician in Niger launch a movement opposing the military government that took power in the July 26 coup, a first sign of internal resistance to army rule in the strategically important Sahel country, or at least what they try to show out. In a statement seen on Wednesday, Risa Agbola said his new Council of Resistance for the Republic, the CRR, aims to reinstate overthrown President Mohamed Bazoum, who has been in detention at his residence since the takeover. Niger is the victim of a tragedy orchestrated by people charged with protecting it, the statement read.
The announcement comes as diplomatic efforts to reverse the coup have stalled after the military government rejected the latest diplomatic mission from the African Union and the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS. Niger's coup leaders denied entry to African and United Nations envoy on Tuesday, resisting pressure to negotiate before a summit on Thursday at which heads of state from the ECOWAS will discuss the possible use of force.
Well, Agbola's statement said it supports ECOWAS and any other international actors seeking to restore constitutional order in Niger, adding that it would make itself available to the bloc for any useful purpose. Another CRR member said several Nigerian political figures had joined the group but could not make their allegiance public for safety reasons. Agbola played a leading role in uprisings by Tuaregs, a nomadic ethnic group present in Niger's desert north in the 1990s and 2000s. Like many former rebels, he was integrated into government under Bazoum and his predecessor Mahamadou Issoufou.
While the extent of support for the CRR is unclear, Agbola's statements will worry the coup leaders given his influence amongst Tuaregs who control commerce and politics in much of the vast north. Support from Tuaregs would be key to securing the military government's control beyond Niamey city's limits. Democratic ECOWAS member states such as Nigeria want the reinstatement of the civilian governments that had been relatively successful in containing a deadly campaign by armed groups linked to Al-Qaeda and the ISIS, which has devastated the Sahel region. Mountaineer soldiers detained Bazoum and seized power on July 26, claiming they could do a better job at protecting the nation from the violence.
Well, the coup comes as a blow to many countries in the West, which saw Niger as one of the last democratic partners in the region against the expansionist threat of armed groups. Niger also matters to the global market on various fronts, including its 5% share of the global supply of uranium. The coup has already led to border and airspace closures that have cut off supplies of medicine and food, hampering humanitarian aid in one of the world's poorest countries.
U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said late on Tuesday that he had spoken to Bazoum to express continued efforts to find a peaceful resolution to the crisis. He says the United States reiterates our call for the immediate release of him and his family. He posted on the social media platform X, formerly known as Twitter.
Well, Nigeria's president and ECOWAS chairman Bola Tinubu imposed more sanctions on Niger on Tuesday, aimed at squeezing entities and individuals involved in the takeover, and said all options were still on the table. ECOWAS has said the use of force would be the last resort. The bloc's defense chief have agreed on a possible military action plan, which heads of state will discuss at their summit today in the Nigerian capital, Abuja. The Mali and Burkina Faso, ECOWAS members that have rejected Western allies since their own military took power in coups in the past 3 years, have promised to defend Niger's new army ruler from any forceful attempt to remove them.
In a letter to the UN, they called on the Security Council to prevent any armed action against Niger, saying it would have unpredictable consequences, such as the breakup of ECOWAS, a humanitarian disaster, and a worsening security situation. Accusing Western powers of using ECOWAS as a proxy to conceal a hostile agenda towards Niger, they said they were committed to funding solutions through diplomacy and negotiations. Mali and Burkina Faso have already said they would treat any military intervention in Niger as an act of war.
Now, further complicating the diplomatic picture is the influence of Russia in the Sahel region, which Western powers fear could grow stronger if the military government in Niger follows Mali's example by throwing out Western troops and inviting in the Wagner mercenaries.
Niger currently hosts US, French, German, and Italian troops under agreements made with the new deposed civilian governments, which might make you wonder the actual intent of foreign intervention in this matter.
Burkina Faso and Mali have made their stand. The people of Niger have also been expressive about who they stand with. More revelation on this will prove further the intent of external parties and where this coup is headed. Interestingly, since the July 26th overthrow of Niger's democratic leadership, the coup plotters have refused to relinquish power and release detained Bazoum, ignoring the August 6th deadline from ECOWAS to reinstate him. The 7-day ultimatum has not yielded any result. The meeting in Abuja today began hours after Niger's coup leaders appointed a new interim government. So in spite of all the emergency summits by ECOWAS, the coupists are proactively solidifying their within the nation of Niger. Mohamed Rufai Louali, cited as Secretary General of the government, named 21 ministers without specifying any further government plans. After Tinubu spoke, an official communique was read out, which included a resolution asking the bloc's defense chiefs to activate the ECOWAS standby force with all its elements immediately. Now, let's hear, we heard the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu say something more into the Niger coup in this summit today.
Well, what he said was quite interesting. Even though this current position may seem a little flexible, the ECOWAS leaders are trying to demonstrate a moderate extremism. Despite anyway, there are many questions that need answers, which are: how do you impose sanctions and pursue dialogue? How do you bring all options on the table, including force, and expect to demonstrate good faith? Whose interest is ECOWAS fighting for? Niger, the people, ECOWAS, or the West? The economic sanctions have literally escalated the humanitarian collateral damages, and the civilian population is bearing the brunt. What is baffling is how ECOWAS leadership is expecting the coupists to reinstate Bazoum as leader of Niger. If that happens, then what would have been the initial purpose of the military takeover? That may be a mystery if it happens. Star, what do you think?
Well, my suspicion would be that they are. I mean, ECOWAS is aware that option is not on the table in the other side of extremism. So that's why they won't remove brute force completely from the table. But was ECOWAS effectively represented in the deliberations this afternoon in Abuja? According to reports we are receiving from Abuja this afternoon, it is unclear if there were any representatives from Burkina Faso, Guinea, and Niger, whose military heads of state have sided with Niger at the summit. However, the presidents of Mauritania, a founding ECOWAS member, which withdrew from the bloc in December 2000, and Burundi were in attendance. Well, I could authoritatively state that ECOWAS is divided in her collective position on this matter. Some would like us to believe that this is an extension of the war between NATO, the West, and Russia. China, shockingly, has been absent on the scene. No noticeable reaction has been made as yet, and we wonder what could be looming, Onyi.
Oh well, diplomacy is quite complex to analyze, but let's find out what China is busy at right after the break.